effectively ran the presidency by limiting Biden's meetings, screening his news, and even controlling who could speak to him. Even top cabinet members enabled the cover-up. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin went from regular access to the rare virtual calls during the critical war and military engagement decisions. Behind the scenes, staffers frantically tried to hide his failing memory and stamina. They repeated basic stage directions, pre-screened donor questions, and ended meetings when he was having, again, bad days, all while insisting publicly he was fit to serve. The facade crumbled during June's debate disaster that forced Democrats to face what we all saw. But insiders had tried to hide. The president was no longer capable of leading this, and it opens up the next reality. Biden's presidency has been largely run by proxies, with cabinet members rarely gaining direct access to their commander-in-chief. Even Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was kept at arm's length, despite holding one of the most traditionally important cabinet positions. No wonder they printed money to hide the economic disasters that our nation faced. We knew from our own pocketbooks that we were stressed, wages had declined, and we couldn't keep up with the cost of living. Credit card debt surged as Americans just hung on, hoping for things to change. But it has taken a far too greater toll on all of us. The cabinet officials stayed silent to protect their ideology instead of protecting Americans. This was an institutional cover-up. Biden's team created an impenetrable barrier of handlers who issued top-down directives with little presidential involvement. And now we are wondering who decided to ensure President Biden commuted sentences of multiple murders, including the killers of children. Here to weigh in on this is South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson. Good afternoon, Alan. Welcome aboard and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. This is such a hot topic. The mental decline of Joe Biden's pardons. Please give us what are you seeing? These shockwaves are sending across the nation. What is it that you're seeing out of this that has happened that's so detrimental to our country?
Well, first, I want to say that if this wasn't so serious and sad, it would almost be laughable. You were talking about his mental decline. My family and I, every year, we watch Christmas Vacation. Joe Biden reminded me of the character of Aunt Bethany sitting at the table. This is one of those situations where you would laugh if it wasn't so serious. What he is doing is not a principled decision. These are decisions being made by people in the shadows of the White House. When you commute the sentences of murderers and rapists, and violent criminals and people accused of espionage around the country, but you leave 3 people on there for political reasons, you leave them on death row for political reasons. These are the things that people like me find incredibly offensive. People here in South Carolina do not appreciate what this president is doing.
You know, you had written on X, and they showed it on the screen, that President Biden's 11th hour pardons and clemencies reveal the truth. He's not releasing small-time drug offenders, but foreign spies, child predators, and corrupt officials. This is a blatant betrayal of justice. So the Biden administration is basically withdrawing their proposed changes to Title IX, which would have prevented schools from banning biological males and girls in sports. You played a big part in this win, correct?
No, absolutely. We signed on to numerous comment letters basically opposing this ban. Basically, the Biden administration or Title IX was trying to force boys to be able to play girls' sports. Now, what they haven't done is they have not rescinded the Title IX regulations coming out of the Department of Justice, which would allow boys to go into girls' locker rooms and into restrooms and showers, and also implement pronoun policies that would compel kids to lie, basically saying that someone's pronoun doesn't correspond with their biological sex. You're basically violating the First Amendment rights of kids in schools. So they've only rescinded one of the regulations, but they're still fighting in court where we are right now trying to defend the First Amendment rights of our children in our public school systems.
You know, the administration admitted that their plan was wildly unpopular. You know, according to reports, they received over 150,000 public replies asking them to not amend Title IX. Why did they try to force this issue?
Well, what you talked about earlier in your monologue and what I alluded to is that there are people in the shadows of the White House and this administration who are radical, hardcore, woke leftists. They are trying to hijack society and rule through administrative fiat. These are bureaucrats in the deep state. This is what we ran against with President Trump. And goodness, January 20th cannot get here fast enough. But these people are governing in the bowels of the federal government right now, and they're coming up with these radical extremist policies. Joe Biden is an empty suit. He is just a vessel, but it's the people that he has surrounded himself, the people we never elected, the people that we don't even know their names. They're the ones writing these rules and these regulations, and these are the ones that are trying to cram this down the throats of the American people.
Yeah, I have to agree. You know, one of the quotes from Kamala Harris cracked me up where she said he can see around the corner. I thought that's absolutely absurd. He can't even see in front of himself. So you're on the front lines with a brief to protect students' free speech rights. You are spotlighting a school in Ohio that required everyone to use students' preferred pronouns. Can you tell us about this case?
Absolutely. One of the largest school districts in the state of Ohio passed a policy that would penalize students for misgendering or using the incorrect pronouns if someone found them to be offensive. Not just at school, by the way. If you were to text someone or email someone or post something on Instagram or say something to a student at the mall on a Saturday, you could be punished under this school policy. Basically, this policy was designed to compel students to lie, to compel students to violate their conscience. This was a First Amendment violation, and so I joined and co-led this brief with the Attorney General of Ohio, Dave Yost, and 21 other states joined us supporting parental rights groups to protect the children of Ohio. And the reason I'm in Ohio fighting there is that I don't ever want this to come onto the doorsteps of South Carolina schools.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense because, you know, we know it filters over to other states once they gain traction in one. You know, look at what goes on in California. It tends to spread. So Trump's pick for the FBI director, Kash Patel, gained an unexpected ally in the Senate. Take a look.
He's talked about going after Trump's enemies.
Yeah, and we've had conversations. He absolutely that's never going to happen. You know, like he was very.
He's not going to use the FBI to go after Trump's enemies.
Like, no, that's not it. Or
did you believe him?
Taken.
I mean, he's written a lot.
Like that's what he claims.
Yeah.
And I found out, you know, his family's origin story and immigration.
That's actually fascinating. What do you make of Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman's comments?
Listen, kudos to Senator Fetterman. He and I don't agree a lot politically, but I find his independent thinking very refreshing. I've seen him break from his party on some of their more radical positions over the last year, and that is refreshing to people like me. And I agree with him. Look, I know Kash Patel. I've spoken many times with Kash Patel. I'm a huge supporter of him. What Kash Patel represents is this. The Biden administration weaponized the federal government agencies against the American people, and Donald Trump is putting people like Kash Patel in these positions so they can weaponize the American people against the deep state. This isn't about using the FBI or other apparatuses of the federal government to go after your enemies. This is about to stop that very behavior. This is the very thing that we wanted to do. Donald Trump always said that his revenge would be winning, not using the very government apparatus that went after him to go after his enemies. So I support what Fetterman says, and I think Kash Patel is going to be a fantastic FBI director.
I agree with you. I think he's going to be very disciplined. Often we say things out of office or out of our position that may be a little inflammatory to get people's attention. So I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Attorney General Alan Wilson, for joining us, and have a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. Straight ahead on the Chris Salcedo Show. He's making a list and he's checking it twice. President-elect Donald Trump has a hilarious holiday message for his political opponents. You don't want to miss this. Crash in Kazakhstan that left at least 38 dead and dozens injured. We explain who is taking the blame. And later, California Governor Gavin Newsom is rallying against Trump's plan to fix the damage caused